One of the most common questions we get asked whenever all of you inquire with us is it safe to buy a bank auction property? Hey guys, Nikhil from Auction Dunia. Right now, we're not in a property, we are in my studio and we'll be breaking down this exact question as to whether or not it's safe to buy a bank auction property, how you should think about this, and what are some parameters to consider before you decide to invest in one of the properties you see on our channel. So let's get started. First things first, thank you all so much for the amazing love and feedback. We've got thousands of you who have commented, who have called us, who have visited our bank properties, and a lot of you have actually purchased them. But in that process, the ones who have purchased, who have not purchased, who want to eventually buy, they keep asking us that what are the issues with the property, why are they selling it, if it's a bank property, is it safe? And in this video, first, we'll break down property investments, some specific examples which we have personally seen when we've been evaluating bank properties, what you should be looking at as an investor, as a customer of these properties, and what are some key elements you have to get checked before you decide to make the purchase. So let's start with, in general, the issues you will face whenever you are looking to buy any property in India. Irrespective of whether the property is from a bank or if it is from a normal individual which you're buying or if it's from an institution you're buying, we've seen that there are some critical common issues which end up popping up either through the purchase process, through the due diligence process, or sometimes after people have made a purchase. The first common issue which we've seen is a double sale agreement or multiple sale agreement. Over here, what has happened is a particular person, individual, has sold a single property to multiple people. And this, believe it or not, happens even with bank properties. So first, get this out of your head that a bank property will be a 100% clean property or a bank property will be a 100% bad property. That's not the case. The real story lies somewhere in between. Each property, each case, each file will have its own unique thing. One of the most common issues which we've seen is multiple sale agreements getting done on the same property. Generally speaking, by law, banks do have the first charge. However, I can tell you from personal experience, we've come across cases where the same property has ended up getting loans from multiple banks. And then that goes into a legal issue of which bank has the first charge on the property to liquidate it, and creates a whole other mess. Now keep this in mind, these kind of properties end up coming at a lower cost as well. So if you're an investor who has the legal wherewithal to actually navigate this situation, these can be an opportunity. But there are cases where you will have double sale agreements or multiple sale agreements. The next issue which we've commonly seen is encroachments. So encroachments, I'm sure you're aware, is possible across properties, including bank property. We've seen some cases where the property has been repossessed by the bank, but to access that property, the road has got encroached by a different person, and because of which the property is inaccessible to a person. We've seen cases where the owner has deliberately created situations such that it's encroached. Maybe he has a house next door or he has a property next door and he's managed to create situations where it's encroached. You will end up seeing some encroached properties as well. What are some other issues? The most common issues which we've come across is the property owner has got a lease done on his property and leased it out to some tenants. Now, in these scenarios, of course, what you will end up seeing is the tenants end up getting evicted because even if it's a leased property, the bank gets the first charge all the time. There's been many court cases. I'll see if I can put up some screenshots or some examples or some numbers. But this is a very common issue whenever we go to repossess it and bring it to you for sale. So you are going to see a lot of these leaseholders preventing you from accessing the property. Generally speaking, by the time the property comes to sale, the bank would have already evicted most of these leaseholders and all of that. But I'm warning you, and we are giving you a fair warning that this is something we tell our customers as well, that there can be scenarios like this where the leaseholder is talking to you. Legally, they can't do anything, but they may create some issues for you and which you'll have to be aware of. Next, we've seen issues of title frauds as well, including in bank properties. So what do I mean by this? There may be some documents which have been forged. The loan would have been given in a hurry. The manager of the time wouldn't have checked it properly. There may be zoning issues and there may be structural problems. Personally, I've seen very close to my home a beautiful property wherein there's a zoning issue where half of the property can't be used because it's very close to a lake. And there are issues like this which will come up even for a bank repossessed property. The bank may or may not disclose it to you. As a purchaser, as a buyer, you have to be very careful when you're looking at these scenarios. So I'm giving you these lists, and in the description, we'll have a link to a blog where this entire checklist is also available. Next, let's look at some specific considerations which you'll have to take when a bank has repossessed a minority allotted property. So occasionally, there are sale restrictions which are put on a property, especially if it is a minority allotted property. That person may have managed to get a loan on that property and would have not paid it. But in those cases, transferring the ownership to you can be a challenge. The sub-registrar may create issues for you. There may be legal issues for you. So you have to be very careful that you also verify this, especially for minority allotted properties. Apart from this, anytime you're buying a bank repossessed property, the level of documentation, legality, all that is a lot higher. The property is getting transferred from the bank name to your name without question. But there may be some legal issues. For instance, the sub-registrar may ask you for additional documentation. The bank may not have all the documents you need, and you may have to run around to try to get those documents to verify things. A lot of times, the banks may not talk to you and give you all the details you've asked for because they probably don't have it, or they probably are, not very keen on liquidating their property. Even in those scenarios, as a buyer, you have to be prepared for it. What I mean by that is, it's not going to be a clean purchase like buying something new from a builder. But hey, the discount which you end up getting, 30-40% discount on a typical property with what we've seen, it actually makes it all worth it because that amount is huge. My point is this, you'll just have to be mentally prepared to handle this. Let's continue. There may be some financing challenges as well. So what do I mean by this? There are certain banks, most bank properties can be financed based on your credit profile. However, certain banks do not touch properties which are bank auction properties for whatever reason. Now, if your credit profile is good and you have a good relationship with your bank manager, you may actually get financing for that as well. There is not a strict policy that we will not finance a bank auction property. However, if you're a buyer, you have a good credit profile, you have a good relationship with your bank, most likely you will get financing for it without any issues. So guys, my point is this. Like you're buying any other property in India, you'll have to look at bank auction properties as just another source. It is not completely clean, nor is it completely dirty. The reality lies somewhere in between. The only thing I have to say whenever buyers come to us and look to buy bank auction properties, from a typical property which you end up buying in India, the documentation will be a lot better. If something is wrong with it, you'll actually find out a lot quicker because bank, before they disburse a loan to that person, needs to take a lot of data from them to get approvals and disburse the loan. So you will get documentation better, but the bank revealing that documentation to you or not, it depends on that specific site officer. So you as a consumer will have to follow a detailed checklist of conducting due diligence, of giving legal checks, and of ensuring your financing is prepared. Because the bank auction process, we'll be sharing a lot more videos like that, so subscribe for that, is a relatively tedious process. The 30-40%, sometimes 50% discount which you get on property, the reason you're getting it is because there is a little bit of a headache. It is not going to be a clean, smooth process, but hey, that discount will actually be worth it. Now, of course, at Auction Dunia, we offer these services to you whenever you want to buy a bank. We publish a lot of bank auction properties, but if you want help, we have in-house lawyers. We can provide you due diligence. We will go through the checklist for you before publishing a property. In fact, I don't know if you follow our channel closely, but we have actually taken down properties where later on we have found out that it has legal issues. Because our goal is to make sure that we get you the best possible bank auction properties. But even then, even with us as a service provider, even with the bank having a clean property, you as a consumer will have to do your own due diligence and legal checks. Get it verified by a lawyer. Do not treat this as anything other than another property source. The difference is you're just getting additional discount here. The due diligence, the legal checks, the financial preparation has to come from your side. We've seen a lot of cases. We've tried to avoid properties which have issues like this. But even then, there are some properties which fall through the cracks. And when you're making a purchase, it's not going to be a small purchase. Minimum it will be about 30-40 lakhs. We've sold property worth crores. Even there, the due diligence you will have to follow. In the description below, we'll give a link to a detailed checklist for conducting a due diligence. This is just a simple checklist to start off with. Contact a legal professional, get it verified. Trust me, that additional money which you will pay it, much more than that you're going to get back when you end up making a purchase finally. So if you have any questions about risks of buying a bank property, let us know in the comment section below. I hope I've addressed some of these concerns and how you should approach and think about bank auction properties. At Auction Dunia, we do guide you through the entire process. So any properties which you see on our channel, I hope you're subscribed to it. You can purchase them. When we're taking you through the purchase process, we will be doing a legal check on our own, but we recommend you to do one on your side as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you in our next video.